The end of us. Amidst the shambles of our once beautiful relationship, my husband, Mike, uttered the words that severed our ties forever. "I think we should get a divorce," he said, his voice laced with finality. Mike had always criticized my life choices, but this time, I didn't protest. Deep down, I knew the real reason behind his decision. As I signed the divorce papers, I handed them over to Mike. His confusion was evident. He expected resistance, a fight, but I had none left in me. "I won't contest the divorce," I said, surprising him with my calm acceptance. "I hope you find the help you need in this world." The divorce proceedings began, and I, Christine, found myself navigating the unfamiliar territory of separation from a man I had spent a decade with. Mike, the CEO of a real estate company, had gradually become a stranger in our home. The cracks in our relationship had surfaced 6 months ago. Mike's growing business commitments meant he was rarely at home. The man who once cherished our time together was now perpetually absent. Weekends, once reserved for family, turned into solitary moments for me. Childless and feeling increasingly isolated, I questioned my worth as a wife. I wondered if Mike's absence was a reflection of my inability to bear children. Our intimacy dwindled, and I found myself desperately seeking his attention. One evening, I confronted him during one of his horse racing sessions, hoping to salvage what was left of us. But he dismissed me with callous indifference, absorbed in his gambling pursuits. I mustered the courage to voice my grievances, only to be met with his irritation. His harsh words cut deep, unraveling the love we had once shared. The man who had once treated me like a princess had transformed into a stranger, indifferent to my pain. In that moment, my suppressed emotions erupted like a volcano. I shouted back, my voice laced with hurt and betrayal. I couldn't comprehend how the man I fell in love with had become so callous, so devoid of empathy. As I reminisced about our days filled with love, I realized that our marriage had become a mere facade. The love that once bound us had withered away, leaving behind a hollow shell of what we used to be. That's why I accepted his proposal initially. Everyone envied our closeness, and they all thought Mike was a catch, blessing our union. I believed that happiness would be our constant companion, but it only lasted for the first 2 years. After that, his selfishness and arrogance took over, reducing me to nothing more than a maid. I catered to his picky eating without a single complaint, cleaned meticulously as if under the scrutinizing gaze of an overly critical mother-in-law, and endured strict checks as if allowing even a speck of dust would be a grave sin. I faced humiliation in front of relatives due to our inability to have children. Although my real mom stepped in to support me, Mike's bullying never ceased. I endured these painful days, clinging to the memory of the kind Mike I had fallen in love with. His past love for me fueled my resilience, allowing me to smile through the worst moments. But now, the Mike in front of me seemed like an entirely different person. He yelled at people based on his mood and found my existence bothersome. I questioned why he chose to live with someone he clearly found so irritating. I would have preferred he cast me aside if I annoyed him that much. In the midst of these disheartening thoughts, Mike uttered the unthinkable. "You've become a drag. You used to be obedient and cute, which is why I married you. I didn't expect you to become this annoying, wrinkled old lady. You frustrate me, and you can't even have kids. What kind of wife are you? You're more like a maid. That's what you are now." His words shattered me. He no longer saw me as a woman. I had suspected it, but hearing it directly from him was a devastating blow. What had these 10 years meant? I had faithfully supported Mike, believing in his love for me. I thought this rough patch was temporary, that we would return to the happier days, and I believed I was the woman he cherished the most. Yet now, he regarded me with clear irritation, almost disdain. Was this the reward for my unwavering support over a decade? If so, it felt like a cruel joke from the universe. My sorrow turned into a potent mixture of hatred and anger. "Being around you exhausts me," he said, leaving me speechless. Unable to find words, I clenched my fists. Seeing my reaction, Mike grabbed his cigarettes and left, probably not planning to return that night. Staring at the door he had walked out of, I was dumbfounded. Memories of our happier days flashed before my eyes, and in the solitude, I found myself crying out loud. That fight had created a chasm between Mike and me. Sick of seeing my face, he started coming home late, barely exchanging a word before changing his clothes and leaving again. I was too terrified to talk, fearing his cutting words. If he were to ask for a divorce, I would have nowhere to go. My parents had died in a car accident shortly after I got married, leaving me feeling like an empty shell. Mike had been my rock, my support through it all. But now, that foundation was crumbling, leaving me adrift in a sea of despair. I truly believed, deep in my heart, that marrying him was the best decision of my life. From that moment on, Mike became my only family. I had no one else to turn to. My connection with my in-laws existed, but I hesitated to burden them with my woes, even though they were incredibly kind. I didn't want parents to hear complaints about their child. I feared it might sour their opinion of me. At that time, I was timid, always hesitant to take action. I began to accept that I might spend my entire life just being there for Mike, akin to a housekeeper. Many nights, these thoughts would reduce me to tears. Then, one surprising night, after over 3 months of silence between us, Mike came home in an unusually good mood. He appeared with a box of cupcakes, a gesture that startled me. "Christine here," he said, his demeanor remarkably different. I stared at him, taken aback by his sudden change. Seeing my reaction, Mike awkwardly laughed, tilted his head, and said, "Take it. I'm sorry for how I treated you that day. I regret being so cold. I want to go back to the happy days with you. Can we make up?" His apology moved me to tears. The Mike I had once known, the kind and caring one, seemed to have returned. I hugged him tightly, holding on to the hope that our happiness could be rekindled. From that moment, he kept his word. He treated me with care, reminiscent of our early dating days. He made an effort to come straight home after work, prioritizing our time together. He admitted his own faults, acknowledging that his stress from work had influenced his behavior. One lazy weekend afternoon, while we were watching a movie side by side on the couch, Mike, while gently stroking my hair, shared his feelings. "I think I took it all out on you," he confessed. "I blamed you without knowing the whole situation." Finally, the tension between us began to ease, and I believed that as a couple, we could find happiness again. However, that belief was shattered one night when a call interrupted our dinner. His phone displayed a woman's name, an unusual occurrence. Mike hastily answered it, looking panicked, and then hurried outside to continue the conversation, perhaps not wanting me to overhear. This was the first time since our reconciliation that he had taken a call privately. Suspicion crept in, and I decided to probe gently. "It's rare for you to take a call outside, especially someone from work," I said, my voice laced with concern. Mike's response was too rehearsed, too forced. "Oh yeah, kind of," he replied, avoiding eye contact. "You know, I'm going to step down soon and venture into a new business. It was one of the employees consulting about that." His words didn't match his demeanor, and alarm bells started ringing in my mind. "It's tough, right?" I said, feigning understanding, but deep inside, I had a sinking feeling. In that moment, a thought crossed my mind. A word that sent chills down my spine. Cheating. Could Mike be cheating on me? Suddenly, all the love I had for him turned cold. I decided to investigate thoroughly. With my carefully saved money, I hired a skilled lawyer experienced in infidelity cases and a private investigator to track Mike's actions. My suspicions were confirmed. He was indeed cheating on me with a 20-year-old girl from his workplace. The report in my hands detailed the duration of their relationship, confirming my worst fears. I was dumbfounded as I sifted through the papers the detective had handed me. Mike had been involved with this woman for over 5 years, with brief breaks in between. Their relationship had rekindled on the very evening he had called me during dinner. That tumultuous period between Mike and me. It was because he and this woman were getting along splendidly. Mike's sudden attempts at reconciliation were just a ploy to seek comfort after she rejected him. I realized I had merely been a convenient pawn in his game. It was then that I decided to take matters into my own hands. Seizing an opportune moment when Mike claimed to be on a business trip, I headed to a specific location. Revenge burned hot within me. Sometime after his infidelity was exposed, Mike smoothly transitioned into his new company. He celebrated his achievement with a lavish dinner at home, where we exchanged polite words but maintained the standoffishness we had experienced during our rough patch. Investigations revealed that Mike's lover was possessive and jealous, making him ignore me as a woman to please her. He deliberately created an atmosphere of hostility, treating me like a punching bag when he was frustrated. She exploited my absence on social media and spilled their secrets online, inadvertently giving away their thoughts. With this evidence, I was armed for the confrontation. Amidst our tension, Mike, visibly irritated, handed me a note. "I don't want to eat your cooking," he spat. "Do you even realize who keeps you afloat? I wasn't giving you money every month for you to waste it like this." His fury didn't faze me. As I glanced down at the paper, the word divorce leaped out at me. Mike, shamelessly and without remorse, demanded a divorce, probably assuming that after the mental toll of the past 6 months, I'd readily accept. Though I saw through his motives, I chose silence. "Fine, there we go," I said, my smile masking my determination. Swiftly, I handed him back a signed contract from a divorce lawyer. His dumbfounded expression didn't deter me. I began to pack my essentials, having anticipated this moment, since I had glimpsed his lover's social media, knowing he would ask for a divorce today. Ignoring his attempts to call me back, I swiftly departed the house that, despite its toxic atmosphere, had once been a place of happiness for us. The following day, I contacted the company where Mike's lover worked. She was a new employee at the main branch, and her involvement with Mike had started after a mistake at a drinking party. She was now 5 months pregnant, undoubtedly carrying Mike's child. To confront them with this shocking truth, I invited them to the chairman's house that night. "Please come to the chairman's house tonight. I need to talk to you," I said over the phone, specifying her lover's name. Without further discussion, I hung up, bracing myself for the confrontation that would unfold as the night deepened. At the agreed time, the two arrived at the chairman's house, their faces filled with unease. Mike, his expression furious, seemed to have received frantic calls from his family. Ignoring the tension, I spoke up. "Hey, Mom." As Mike entered the living room, he confronted his mother loudly, demanding answers. "What's going on? Why didn't you answer the phone? What's this?" he barked, his eyes darting around the room. Both he and his lover froze, visibly shaken, at the strange scene before them. "Don't you get it by looking? I thought we'd all have a nice dinner together. I invited some of your relatives, the representatives of the Smith family," I said calmly. They were sipping whiskey, waiting for their return. "Ah, Mike, it's been a while. We've heard you have something to tell us. That lady over there seems to be pregnant, isn't she?" one of the confused relatives asked. But since the situation was unknown to them, they expressed their bewilderment. Only Mike's parents remained calm, casting a stern, yet gentle, gaze upon him and his cheating partner. "Mike, we've heard there's something you want to discuss with us. Is there something you need to say about that woman?" His mother spoke up. Though her tone was soft, her eyes held no warmth, emanating a dark and intimidating aura that made Mike shiver. "What do you mean by something I need to talk about? Don't play dumb, boy." "I've heard everything from Christine," his father interjected, his stern gaze contrasting sharply with his mother's demeanor. The words hit Mike like a sledgehammer. Panic flashed across his face as he turned to me, lashing out. "What the hell did you do? You're not my wife anymore, so stay out of family matters." "She's not your wife? What do you mean?" I said, seizing the opportunity provided by Mike's slip of the tongue. Everyone from the Smith family looked at him with puzzled expressions, questioning his words. In the midst of my contemplation, his furious mother spoke again. How could you disregard such a wonderful wife and flirt around with other women? You're a disgrace to the Smith family. Realize your own foolishness. His mother's formal attire and dignified demeanor lent her words immense weight, overwhelming everyone present. It must have been terrifying for Mike. Overwhelmed, he fell backward onto the floor. You thought you managed a smooth divorce. Please don't underestimate me. I've already got permission from your parents to demand the division of property. They said they'd like to maintain a good relationship with me and kick you out of the Smith family, I whispered to Mike, smiling slyly. On that day, I had tearfully explained everything to my in-laws. Upon seeing all the evidence, they had supported and comforted me. We never thought our son would do something so pathetic. Thank you for telling us, Christine. We're sorry for all the pain we've caused you, his parents had said, showing me genuine warmth. They had cooperated with my plan, informing all the relatives who had celebrated our marriage of the situation, ensuring no one would side with Mike. As his mother continued, her voice filled with disdain, please never set foot in this house again. I don't ever want to see your face. That's a shame, she repeated, her tone cutting through the room. The deep bond between his father and mother made cheating unthinkable for them, making their son's actions even more repulsive. Oh, I almost forgot. I turned to the mistress, who was watching the scene in shock. Fear filled her eyes as I handed her a medical report, revealing the shocking truth. You know that kid isn't Mike's, right? I said, dropping the bombshell. The mistress looked stunned and panicked, her eyes darting between me and Mike. How did you get pregnant with a child from infertile Mike? I'd love to know how you pulled that off. Care to enlighten me? I teased them with a playful tone, while the color drained from the mistress's face. In a fit of rage, Mike confronted her, needing to be held back by his father and the other men. I had successfully driven a wedge between Mike and his mistress, leading to their breakup. She ended up raising the child alone, while Mike begged to come back to me. Of course, I turned him away. I proceeded with the divorce and secured a substantial portion of the property through my lawyer, armed with all the evidence. Completely defeated, Mike complied with everything the lawyer demanded. Afterward, with the help of Mike's parents, I began working as a secretary in a company owned by his father. His mother, concerned about me living alone, invited me to stay. Eventually, she suggested I become their adopted daughter. Why don't you become our adopted daughter? She said, her eyes brimming with warmth. They loved me so much, and now I live happily with them, just like their own daughter.